able to swing it. Oh my God!
Nick Aldis versus Tim Storm. A feud during the late 2010s that helped shape the National Wrestling Alliance and, to some degree, independent wrestling as we knew it. During Storm's 414-day reign as NWA Worlds Champion, Aldis would make his debut for the promotion and quickly set his sights on the world title. This led to a series of matches between the two, which included Storm defending the NWA title against Aldis near the end of 2017, and the match took place in the most unexpected of places. And that, as well as the events that followed, will be discussed in today's video. This was a part of a poll in my community tab, and it obviously won, so if you would like the chance to influence my next video, be sure to keep an eye out for the next poll. If you do enjoy this video and you want to see more videos about all the random and cool stuff that comes from professional wrestling, be sure to leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And with that being said, let's get right into it.
And here comes the national treasure.
Meet Nick Aldis. You may know him nowadays as the general manager of SmackDown, but before he signed with WWE, he wrestled nearly everywhere throughout the world for 15 years, most notably in TNA, where he performed under the ring name Brutus Magnus or just simply Magnus, and won their tag team titles multiple times, as well as becoming their world champion. One criticism that he faced in TNA was that he was boring compared to a lot of the guys on the roster at the time, like an AJ Styles or Samoa Joe or Bobby Lashley. And I don't think it's fair to say that he was a bad wrestler or to even call him boring, but I will say it seems like he didn't really blend in well for whatever it was that TNA was doing at the time in terms of in-ring. Aldis has a more traditional style of wrestling that he uses, which does stick out when you compare it to the in-ring product that TNA was producing. He was also receiving an insane push at the time, which led to him beating the likes of Sting and AJ Styles in their last matches for TNA, which led to some fans automatically rejecting him. Aldis left TNA in 2015 and wrestled for Jeff Jarrett's Global Force Wrestling, or GFW for short, where he was the inaugural and longest reigning GFW Global Champion. He made some appearances for the now rebranded Impact Wrestling in 2017 before making his debut for the National Wrestling Alliance, or NWA for short, later that year. Shortly after his debut, he would set his sights on one of the richest prizes the industry has to offer, the NWA Worlds Heavyweight Championship, and at the time, it was held by this man.
I am Tim Storm.
Real name Tim Scoggins, he holds the honor of being the oldest ever NWA Worlds Champion at the age of 51. Up to this point in time, he had been a wrestler for 22 years and was also a school teacher in Texas. I'm not sure if he still is as of this video coming out, so if anyone can inform me of that, I would appreciate it. Storm is recognized as the first world champion of the Lightning 1 era, which started when the sale of the NWA to Smashing Pumpkins frontman Billy Corgan was finalized. If you aren't super familiar with Storm, he is a really good babyface that's easy to get behind and a really good promo. Like Aldis, he has more of a traditional moveset, but that works in the NWA, where the promotion is almost entirely based on the 80s period of NWA Jim Crockett Promotions. The two men had a match on an episode of Championship Wrestling from Hollywood where Storm would be victorious. After this, Storm would make his first ever appearance for CZW and would seek out a challenger from the Combat Zone to take the 10 pounds of gold from him. Many wrestlers came out to confront Storm, including Matt Tremont, Ethan Page, and MJF. However, Memphis wrestling legend Austin Idol came out and announced that Storm's next challenger would be Nick Aldis once again. And with this, the stage was set for the second match of their rivalry. The match took place at CZW's 18th annual Cage of Death show on December 9th, 2017, and took place at the Rastelli Complex in Sewell, New Jersey. This footage was taken from a fan and subsequently uploaded to Facebook, and is perhaps some of the worst quality that I've ever used for any match on this channel, so this will be presented in its normal colors as opposed to the usual black and white that I use for these videos. With that out of the way, let's get into the match. Both men make their way to the ring, and immediately you notice that Storm has white tape wrapped around his ribs as he is selling an attack from a wrestler by the name of Josephus after Storm had beaten Josephus for the second time. The ring announcer is making the introductions, and there's very little fanfare for both men, as you can see, although Storm did get a considerably stronger reaction compared to Aldis. The bell rings and Aldis immediately charges at Storm with a running knee to the back before hitting Storm with what I think was a pump handle fall-away slam. Not 100% sure about that because of the quality and the guy moving his camera away from the fucking wrestling, but I digress. Aldis delivers a suplex to Storm as the crowd chants, Aldis stays on the offensive as he hits Storm with a fall-away slam, and the crowd is very disinterested despite the match just starting. Aldis whips Storm into the ropes and connects with a kitchen sink as the camera shits itself more than usual. Aldis is clearly going after the already damaged midsection of Storm, and the referee goes in to see if Storm can continue. Aldis picks Storm up and hits him with, you might have guessed it, another fall-away slam. The crowd is getting even more agitated as this match goes on, with boring chants breaking out. Aldis looks like he's going for the Michinoku driver, but Storm counters and rolls Aldis up for a 2 count. Aldis kicks Storm in the ribs. He tries to whip Storm, but gets countered with a combination of kicks and a neck breaker as the crowd is now chanting for legendary PWG wrestler Super Dragon. Storm goes for the cover and only gets a 1 count. Storm gets Aldis in the grounded headlock as the crowd chants at this overdone brutality displayed by both competitors. Aldis gets out of it and gets Storm into a back body drop position, but drops him on his face and then goes to the top to hit a diving elbow to the back of Storm before waiting for Storm to get up to deliver an Alpamere water slide. Aldis goes for the cover to get the 3 count to end Storm's 414-day reign and for Aldis to become the new NWA Worlds Heavyweight Champion. A couple of weeks ago, I covered the only match Nigel McGuinness had in WWE where he got squashed by Danny Basham, and I called that perhaps the worst match I had covered up to that point, but I think this match might have surpassed it. The match itself was terrible, the crowd rejected it immediately, and if we're being honest, why wouldn't they? Having this match on any CZW show, let alone one of their biggest and most violent shows of the year, and having the title change hands on said show was such an interesting call by both Billy Corgan and DJ Hyde. If you're at all familiar with that one picture with the caption, "What's a polar bear doing in Arlington, Texas?" This match is the definition of that. Both men had a much better match 1 month prior, and they'd go on to have a much better match following this, but this was most certainly a one-off. That's without me mentioning that this world title match went a whopping 3 minutes and 47 seconds. This would begin a run from Aldis where he held the title for 266 days, including a 60-day period where he defended the championship 20 times across 3 continents, known as the Aldis Crusade. During the summer of 2018, it was announced that Aldis would defend the title against Cody Rhodes as part of the biggest independent pro wrestling show in history, All In. Both men had a wonderful match that led to Cody getting the win and winning the title that his father, Dusty Rhodes, won decades before him. Aldis would win the title back from Cody at NWA's 70th anniversary show and would hold the title for nearly 3 years after that, defending against the likes of James Storm, Flip Gordon, Aaron Stevens, otherwise known as Damian Sandow, among many others before losing the title in August of 2021 to Trevor Murdoch. Aldis would float around in various different stories following the loss, and he would eventually leave the NWA in 2022. He made a few appearances in 2023 with Impact Wrestling before joining WWE, and that is where we are at now. Tim Storm still works with the NWA as a wrestler and as a color commentator. His in-ring career has relatively slowed down. I mean, considering he's 59 years old, that's not too shocking. Wrestling 13 matches this year as of September 19th, 2024, and he is now wrestling under the ring name Baron Von Storm. I mentioned earlier how they have had better matches since that CZW match, and they indeed have, with Storm and Aldis headlining that first episode of NWA Power on YouTube in 2019, which I feel is a very solid match and 50 times better than the Cage of Death match. I think he deserves more credit for his time holding down the fort before Aldis came in. He did excellent work as world champion as the company began its ascent back to the top, and I don't think that gets acknowledged as much as it should. I also think it's pretty funny that Aldis' time with the NWA title, that is probably considered by most to be the best of any other champion in the 21st century, started at a CZW show, and in turn helped set up one of the marquee matches for one of the most important shows in the history of pro wrestling. Say whatever you want about NWA or Aldis, but he played a huge part in that title regaining its prestige, even if it was only for a little while. His 1,309 days as champion ranks 6th all-time, only behind legends such as Lou Thesz, Ric Flair, Harley Race, Dory Funk Jr., and Dan Severn. And his time at the top brought NWA back to national prominence, albeit it was only for a little while. But yeah, that was the time Nick Aldis won the NWA title in CZW. What did you think? Feel free to let me know down in the comments what you thought about this video, as I look for all feedback, positive or negative. If you did enjoy it, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, so you do not miss out on any future videos. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace out.